Welcome, everybody, to the Resident and Family Support Council meeting. It's nice to see everybody today as people are entering into our meeting this afternoon. We just want to take a minute to welcome everybody and to remind you a little bit about our meeting. I'm Lee Moriarty, and I'm the Deputy State Long-Term Care Ombudsman. And I am here today at a long-term care community in Evanston, Illinois. And I have some people joining us. Before I have them introduce themselves, I'm just gonna go through some housekeeping issues that I'd like to share with everybody. First of all, these meetings are sponsored by the Illinois Pioneer Coalition, so we want to thank them. They allow us to use their Zoom account. So thank you to the Illinois Pioneer Coalition, who advocates for person-directed living for long-term care communities in Illinois. I am, like I said, my name is Lee. I am with the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program, and I am the Deputy State Long-Term Care Ombudsman. We also have Candace Mitchell, who is the Regional Ombudsman. I'll let her pop her head in and say hi. Hi. Candace Mitchell with us today as well, who helped get this happening for us. The purpose of our meetings is to empower people with information so that we can all do better for those who live and work in long-term care. So we're thrilled today to have these individuals join us for the conversation. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Bill, why don't we go ahead and we start with you?
Okay. Well, where do you want me to start?
Well,
why I came here?
You know what? That's a great, and the camera is that way. So if you want to look at the TV, then we can see your handsome face.
Well, about 3 years ago, I moved from the city where I'd been for 20 years and to another Covenant facility in Northbrook.
Okay.
And for various reasons that just suited our needs better, we transferred to Evanston, probably, I think, in October of this year. And I had been in independent living, and that ended when I had a fall. Apparently, I don't remember the fall. I don't remember breaking all the bones that I broke in my leg.
Well, that's no fun.
3 of them.
Better when you remember it.
And I don't remember not remembering. But I lost consciousness for a very long time.
Okay.
And my memory came back after about 2.5 months.
Oh.
And I have no memory of what happened. Everything is secondhand.
Oh, wow.
That's according to my daughter and according to a couple of nurses, they didn't expect me to survive.
Oh, look at you.
I don't understand that from breaking bones. I mean, it's not fun to break bones, but I don't know how. There was nothing about a head injury. But at any rate, I was very not conscious, not able to handle my affairs, which I turned over to my daughter. And then I think around October last year, here, as I say, it just suited the setup, just suited us better. And I'm no longer being rehabbed. I can now walk, talk, and think and remember with caveats in 3 of the 4 categories. I don't remember as well as I used to, and I get brain fog occasionally, but for the most part, I'm pretty much back to at least where I need to be. It's not complicated living in a place like this. We're not forced to make a lot of decisions. It's harder when I do have to make decisions. It's not as easy for me as it used to be.
Oh.
But I had a lot of rehab before I came here. Then I had rehab here, which was better than it was before in Northbrook. The only negative of the move, I think, was that I had moved out of the city to be near my daughter, and I was about a 3-minute drive. Now I'm 25 minutes away, so that part of it didn't work out so well. But at any rate, I'm here. I'm pleased to be here. I think that some of the most important things are here for me, which I did mention before we started this, that socialization is extremely important. And there's a lot of very interesting people and accomplished people here. And some of them are the staff members. And I really like the staff. Some of the people go way out of their way, and most of the people are, almost everybody is really pretty good. And so that's pretty much it. I'm probably going to be here for life. I didn't mention that the move from when I fell, it meant my wife had to go into a memory care unit.
Okay.
And so she came here in memory care. I came in rehab, but I'm now in assisted living, so. And that separation may be a lifetime thing.
That's gotta be hard. How does that feel?
Not good. I mean, it's, I will tell you, it's very hard dealing with dementia. That's what I'm dealing with. And I mean, I've dealt with before, but not on a 24-hour a day basis. And not having a 24 hours a day just takes a lot of stress off.
Yeah.
But there's also guilt.
Oh.
And I'm pretty good at living with guilt because I have so much to be guilty about. I'm serious about that. Yeah, that's pretty much the status of things. And I mentioned socialization. I also mentioned, I should mention learning. I just think learning new things is, well, it's part of the way I think. I like to keep thinking about new things, and I like things to challenge what I think already. Maybe what I'm learning is just replacing what I'm forgetting, but it's nevertheless, I do a lot of reading, and I try to take advantage of the exercise programs here. And then some of the entertainment, lectures and things. I'm very pleased with the place. It was a good move for me.
Very good.
Yeah, it sounds like it is, and I'm gonna do some more probing, some more questions in a minute, but let's go ahead and Betty, why don't you go ahead and share about who you are and what brought you here to live at this
Okay.
community?
Well, I'm Betty Wilmuth, and I moved to Three Crowns October 25th of 2022. And I moved into McDaniel's independent living. February 18th of 2023, I moved to Landstrom, which was a surprise to me. However, based on my health, it's exactly where I needed to be.
And those are different neighborhoods inside of this community?
Say that again?
Those are different neighborhoods inside this community?
Yes.
Okay.
McDaniel is independent. You come and go as you please. And Landstrom is assisted living, and you still come and go as you please, but there's certain things that are done for you to make sure you don't forget and or you need help with. But I woke up the first week I was here and couldn't breathe. And I finally said to myself, you don't call the ambulance, you're gonna die in this bed. So I called an ambulance and I called the front desk to tell them. And I was having a really severe asthma attack. And it just hit all of a sudden. It wasn't something that had been going on a few days. Then the third week I was here, the same thing happened.
Oh.
And it was decided I should move to assisted care. Well, it's one thing to know something intellectually that you need it. It's another to emotionally really want it.
Amen.
So
Yes.
I knew I needed it. I knew I also didn't want it. But Lisa, who is our CEO, talked to me about the differences between the two. And it really only made sense to go there. And I am very thankful that she took time to do that. It's exactly where I need to be. And the one thing that I really appreciate about being here is the staff. Our kitchen staff is absolutely priceless. They work hard, they work constantly, and they're wonderful people, which is a real treat. And Also, our maintenance staff is the same way. Anything you need, they come and fix it for you, and they're always pleasant. And you learn about this one's mother has diabetes and this one's going to school for whatever. It's just an extension of friendship,
Good.
which is really nice.
Yeah, and I'm loving what I'm hearing so far. And again, I've got some really, really cool questions that I want to ask you guys based upon some of the stuff that you shared.
Sure.
And before we do that, though, I would just like for Judy, our last person here today helping to share with us, gain some perspective, if you could share about who you are and what brought you here.
What brought me here initially was the fact that I was a young widow.
Okay.
And after living alone for over a year in the home that my husband and I had built together, I could feel my life draining away. It was an actual physical feeling.
Oh.
My children were very worried about me because by nature, I'm extremely upbeat and positive. And it was their suggestion that I look at a facility like this,
Mhm.
which I had never even been in the door. And so we embarked on our project. And there was only one other place that appealed to me. And when I got there and talked to the head of the staff, it did not appeal to me at all. But when I walked into Three Crowns on the first day and saw all the bookcases right there packed with books, I'm a very bookish person, I knew I was onto something positive. And my two young granddaughters said, "Grandma, you're going to live here because everyone in the family knows me so well." And they were right.
Mm.
I was fortunate to sell my home and buy an apartment here in Independent, all in one weekend.
Wow.
And
Blessing.
I lived in independent living for 7 years. And then I began to have some issues, physical issues that were beginning to trouble me. And so I, after consulting with my children and the people that are in charge of this kind of a change here, I moved to Landstrom and just loved it. And just a couple of weeks ago, I moved up one floor, which is another level of care.
Okay.
And again, consulting with my children, and it was a good move. And listening to Bill and listening to Betty, I echo so much of what they said.
Mhm.
I find Three Crowns to be a most unusual place. And the staff here is what I think is so amazing about it. I mean, the food is delicious. Everything is lovely about this place. But the people are just amazing.
That's so good to hear.
Just amazing, from the cleaning lady who cleans your room to the waiter in the restaurants. Kind, they are so kind. I have yet to receive one nasty comment, face-wise, what they say behind my back, I cannot control. But face-wise, I have yet to hear something or that is unkind and damaging to a person's personality.
So all three of you guys talked about the staff. And one of the things that we've been talking about, we've been going around the state and talking to people who live in long-term care and finding out what's important to them and how their lives are developing and growing. And I've heard staff from all three of you, that the way they treat you, the way you feel, the way they make you feel. Bill, you said that you're learning from the staff even, that they've got some amazing, they're great people to be able to learn from and then being cared for, and the dining room staff and the maintenance men learning about what their lives are. It sounds to me like there's some relationship building that actually happens. It's not staff, residents, people that, work, it's all kind of, it feels to me like it's really what I would use the term community.
That's a very important part of it. It is, they go out of their way to help create a sense of community. I mean, and sometimes it's as much their personality sometimes is what they do. One person named Karen here that, I mean, a drop of a pin, she was ready to sing and break into a dance. I mean, she's so upbeat. And it's very important to keep your mind, your whole psyche upbeat, because we're near the end of our lives. I don't want to just fade away into. I mean, it's going to happen at some point. I'm going to be gone, but it's just. I mean, I enjoy life and I enjoy people. I enjoy reading and be able to do those things in a place where you like the people, and they. They know us. That's the other thing. They seem to make an effort to know us. And I think that's important. I can't believe anybody, how many people have my name almost with the first week. And it's, so I echo the whole thing with the staff in spades. I think they're great.
Does anyone else have anything to share? Because one of the things that knowing us.
Honey, I didn't hear.
Yeah, the knowing us part. That sounds like that's important to you.
Yes, it is.
Bill, is that important to both of you too, Betty and
Extremely
Judy?
important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. Why is that important, getting to know who you are? Do you want to go first, Judy, and then Betty, you can share?
Thank you. Yes. Bill used a word that I use all the time about Three Crowns, and that is community.
Yeah.
After living as a widow and then moving into Three Crowns, independent Three Crowns, I realized I was in a community. I was part of something else besides poor Judy and living alone and dealing with that issue. And when I say poor Judy, I mean it, because I mean from the heart, because it is a terrible change from a loving marriage to being a young widow. So the more I got to know people here, the more I realized there were others that had the same experience and were reaching out like I was reaching out. And we wanted to share. We wanted to know each other. We wanted to be part of a whole, not just going off into our apartments and saying goodbye to the world. We wanted to join the world again.
So it's about the people who live here and the staff who work here. And it feels like there's a blending in many ways with that.
Yes.
Betty, do you want to share your perspective on that? With the
Okay. What I like most is that I would say the equality between the different levels of what you do here, whether you live here, administrator, or you work here.
Mm-hmm.
And the respect that I see taking place between every level to every other level
Uh-huh.
just warms my heart. It's just, I don't think it is a selling point, but I think it should be.
So one of the concepts that the reason why I wanted to have these conversations is because I've been involved in this thing called culture change, changing the culture of long-term care. I've been involved in this for over 20 years. And I've talked to many professionals, people who have ideas about what things could look like and act like and be like. And I haven't had enough conversations with people that are living it. So that was the motive. And it's very reassuring though for me to hear the professionals keep saying that in order to have a good environment where people want to live and they will thrive, feel good about who they are, is an environment where it's not a hierarchy of the administrator runs the boat and everybody else kind of falls underneath it. I mean, many times, and it's different levels of staff, and then the residents are the very last thing. It's actually an environment where they take that pyramid, this hierarchy pyramid, and they flatten it.
I think that's a very important point, and I think they do that very successfully here. And it's a diverse group of people, I mean, particularly in the staff. And I think that makes life richer.
Yeah, what's good for me to hear is this principle that has been talked about so many years, to see it live out here in this building, where it feels like this is one of the most important things to people who live here, is that there isn't this administrator who walks around and does this, reprimands people all day. It's somebody where just the whole world just comes, where everybody is very important to make that community really exist.
May I tell you another thing?
Yes.
My son lives very close. He walks over to see me and he brings Gracie, who is my granddog. She's a Swiss mountain dog. People know her by name. They come out to pet her and see her, and they ask John all kinds of questions. And then I have another friend who comes very frequently, and it's amazing. He knows people all over the building because they stop and we've been friends forever. They'll stop and say, "Oh, I saw your wife," and he'll say, "Oh, she's not my wife, she's my friend," which is, I think, a better deal, actually. And there are, he and his wife had nonprofit basketball team for girls, a traveling team. And there are people who work here who their kids were on their team.
Oh, that's
And so
cool.
they're always glad to see him. And what I find is this friendliness and warmth extends beyond the residents.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a little unusual.
So even to people that are coming in to visit,
Yes.
also feel that this is part of, that everybody's very welcoming. And that's another concept of culture change. Changing the culture is a sense of community. That community is central for people to feel valued, for people to have that good life.
And the community extends beyond this building
Goddess.
and these people.
That's right.
It is a philosophy
Mhm.
that they live by here. And the residents pick it up.
It gets
And-
contagious.
Yes, it's contagious in the best way.
Yes.
And it expands not only to the residents such as yourselves, but to the people that work, just do plain old work cleaning, polishing, fixing, that kind of work. No matter who it is, no matter what role they play in your life, there's a connection there. And Bill verbalized it beautifully, and Betty, but we all feel it. We feel a sense of belonging, and that is so important.
So I'm hearing also this is not just actions, it's also feeling.
Very much so.
Feeling. Can you talk to me? I mean, that feeling, I'm getting a very positive feeling from all of you guys in the way that you're talking about things. Can you tell me more specifically what it is, the one thing that makes your day being a community member here, when that happens for you? It's just, you're like, yes, this makes my day. Who wants to go first?
Well, I'm laughing. It doesn't take a lot to make my day. If I see anyone who works here, they say, hi, Betty, because all the people who work here know everyone's name, no matter where you live.
Very nice.
And I just think, this is really nice.
So that's what makes you feel good, is that people know you by name.
Yes.
That makes your
More
day.
personal.
I think that's very important. When I was in the other facility in Northbrook, there was one person in the kitchen staff that was generally not particularly pleasant.
Mhm.
And I found when I started calling her by name, her behavior changed. And that made a big impression on me. You just think, you have to see people as human beings and not their humanity, not just what they're doing or what their status in life or anything is. You have to see them as people.
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the things that we have between the staff and us, that we see them. I do anyway, and I think a lot of people see them as people. Other part of the community
Yeah.
And not just people, but individuals.
and individuals,
Yes.
yes.
So it's not just a collectiveness, it's the individualness that makes you feel
Yeah.
good about who you are, that they're recognizing me for being an individual.
Yes, that is so important, Lee, that even though we're in a place with lots of people and constant activity, and we are with people that we have never met before. Some we may never see again, but we feel that we belong
Oh, my.
here. It's a
goodness.
feeling that just radiates
I love
from
that.
these buildings. You belong here. You are part of this community. And I think everyone who has some sense of belongingness has this feeling, Bill and Betty and me, and we could go on and on.
Well, I have to say, one of the things I noticed when you guys were starting to come into the room and I was meeting you, Betty, I noticed that you saw Judy and it seemed like maybe you hadn't seen each other in a little while. And you gave her a hug saying, it's so good to see you. And that warmed my heart.
Yeah.
Because that again is that individualness.
Yeah.
You recognized Judy
You
as
also-
being that individual and you gave her a hug. And I thought, wow, that's a really cool thing.
That goes on with the staff as well sometimes. They will give you a hug or.
I love that.
So that's okay with you. If a staff member gave you a hug, you're okay with that.
Sure, I think it's.
Yes, and returning the hug.
And return,
We're okay with that too. It goes both
I
ways.
love that.
All stiffness or all the stay away kind of thing does not exist here.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Honey, I can't hear you.
Oh, I
Why
want
don't you come and sit up with Candace?
Okay. One thing, okay, so I'm the ombudsman at this building. And one thing that I've noticed, this building compared to any of the buildings that I have is the language. You said I moved to, not Nordstrom, what is it? Langstrom, I want to go shopping. No, you didn't say I moved to skilled nursing or assisted living, and we're talking about community. When you talked about other buildings, you said the word facility, but here you have not called it a facility. And we're always trying to make this that what we call a community. And I know, Jerry always talks about it. Oh, the Landstrom neighborhood. It just rolls off of people's tongues and it feels like it's true. It's not just words. And
It's
I
not
think
just
that that's
words.
so important and wonderful. And you've done it right because we're always trying to get rid of the F word, facility.
Yeah.
And you know what? Some facilities are facilities, but this is not a facility.
Yes, and some are facilities and they will always be facilities.
Yes.
But the people that run Three Crowns are so tuned in to the nuances
Exactly.
of relationships and warmth. And it's like Betty said, we don't think anything about seeing one of our staff members and giving them a hug and receiving a hug.
I
back.
love that.
Because that's been a taboo that many long-term care communities would say, staff cannot do that. And that gets really hard when you've got a caring staff member and they might see a resident somebody that they care for, and they're having a bad day, and they know they could really benefit from a hug right now. And they being told you can't give the people that live there a hug.
That's a mistake, as far
Yes,
as I'm
sir.
concerned. It's,
Okay.
I mean, an inappropriate hug is one different thing.
Right.
But that's not what we're talking about.
No.
We're talking about the fact that we see each other, we like each other, we're glad to see each other. And it's the same thing you would see outside the walls. I mean, first,
Perfect. That's
Yeah.
exactly bingo.
yeah. At first, I was a little concerned. I said, we're contained in these four walls. And then I'm thinking, but one thing we haven't talked about, maybe you want to get to it, but it's activities as well.
Mhm.
I can hold that off if you want.
Yeah, well, no, I think
Well,
this is,
may I say one
Yes.
more thing?
Absolutely.
I would, all the things we've talked about, I would put down into one word, respect. And absolutely, I feel that's what exists here between all.
Everybody.
All the
Yes.
relationships, yes.
Between
And
all the
one thing they do that I did not expect, and it's wonderful, is they don't assign seats in the dining
Oh,
room.
gosh, that's
You
good.
go in, you sit where you want to. If there's people there, you say, may I join you? They always say, sure. Or yes, please.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I value that. And,
Oh, yes, definitely.
I like to meet more and more people. And you don't meet, if you don't sit with them and talk to them, you don't get to know them at all.
Right.
It's
And
very
you
important.
won't feel accepted immediately.
Well,
Yeah.
good.
So the culture of this building is not just created by the staff who work here. It's also by the people who live here.
Yes, it is.
And it feels to me that how do you get so lucky to get all the right people moving in? And I'm thinking that it's not a matter of luck. It's a matter of demonstration.
Yep.
If one person treats somebody with kindness, the next treat, the next. So it's not that you guys got lucky that you got good staff or got lucky that good people live here. It happened through a lot of work with people
I agree.
helping to spread it.
Somebody made some very good decisions about the right kind of people to hire. I mean, you're right, it didn't come by luck. I mean,
Can't be luck.
no.
No one should be that lucky. Really, you couldn't be that lucky to have it all just magically work together. You couldn't.
Actually, the first person I knew that lived here was the librarian at our school back in the 80s. And when she retired, she came here, and my school's close by, so I would see her occasionally. And she had nothing but wonderful things to say about this place.
So you had an early
Oh, yeah.
inkling that this place
It
was
was on my
someplace.
list for years to look.
Another thing, before we get to the activities part, because that's definitely something I want to talk about. One of the things I heard was when your story, what brought you here? It felt to me that there was involvement from, you weren't being told you're moving there, mom, you're moving there, dad, you're moving there because you lost your husband. Conversations happened. You may not have said, oh yeah, I can't wait to move there, but it sounded to me like there was a little bit of empowerment. You went on tours with the people who were helping you make these decisions. Your grandchildren helped you. Your daughter helped you.
My daughter actually made the decisions. I hadn't seen the place,
Okay.
but I trust my daughter. And she explained why, and everything she said was true.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she doesn't live here, but it's,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead, please.
My son and daughter-in-law said, Mama, can we look at some places to see what they're like? And I said, of course, though I already knew what I was gonna do. They came here and loved it so much, they didn't go anywhere else.
Huh?
And called me and said, we found a place that we think you'll love. It's called Three Crowns Park.
And you let them think it was their idea. I
Oh,
love it.
absolutely. That's
Ah.
fine with me.
And one of the reasons why I bring this up is there is a piece of empowerment. I think that does need to happen. One of the things that I always encourage when I'm talking with friends, I'm of the age where my mother's 91, okay? And so I have a lot of friends around me who they know I've worked in long-term care most of my life. So they're like, I'm looking for a place for my mom. We need to put my mom someplace. And I back away from that right away and I say, don't put your mom
Right.
anywhere. Your mom needs to be involved in, what have the conversations looked like? Have you talked about the need for this? I mean, it sounds like you had difficulty with your wife who has dementia on top of this, and that was putting a lot of stress on you. So a loving daughter came to you to have a conversation. You know, again, it's about those conversations.
It's the layers in relationships.
That's right.
Yeah,
Back in the day, there used to be people that used to say, just drop them off at the door and then don't come back and visit for a week. Because you don't want them to want to hop in the car with you and go back home. And that felt
That
so.
sounds so heartless.
And then is that going to be a good environment? Is that going to be a
No.
good place where anybody would want to live?
It's cruel.
It sounds to me like it's that situation of almost like, okay, that's what you do when people go to jail. You literally drop them off the door, right? And you get out of there and lickety split so that the person can just, be put someplace.
I really think we're pretty reflective of what most people would tell you that here. I mean, we weren't handpicked to be positive,
Right.
or maybe we were, I don't know.
Well, this was a last minute engagement,
Yeah.
actually. We
Yeah.
had another community that we were going to do this with and they couldn't do it anymore. So at the last minute, about 2 hours ago, that's how this happened. So again, like you said, it wasn't like the building thought, who's going to give us the best idea about what? They don't even really know what this conversation was going to look like. They just let us take it and run with it.
And because they know that they're doing the right thing, they don't have anything to hide, right?
That's part of it, yeah.
Yes, that is right.
I agree.
They don't have to hide anything from anybody.
That's right.
Yeah. So the way you spend your day, I would like to reflect on that for a minute. How you spend your day and how that impacts the rest of your world. If you could talk to me about that, and by that, I just mean anything that you do during the day that gives you those good things or those bad things. Why don't you start? Because I know you mentioned some things about the
I
activity.
told people sometimes that in the morning I disorganize myself, in the afternoon I undo the damage.
Explain, Bill.
But that's not really it. It's, no, I try to read 100 pages a day religiously.
Love that.
I don't always achieve it, but most of the time I do. And I always want something, I always feel I have to learn something every day.
I love that so
I
much.
take that attitude. I may be forgetting a million other things, and I don't know, but I take that as sort of a necessity to keep myself going,
Mhm.
keep my mind active. But I started to mention activities. I mean, one, I go, the physical exercise things they have they're appropriate for me now. I mean, my first reaction was they're not enough. Then I realized how much I disintegrated. And so they're fine, they're fine.
Uh-huh.
And I'm really actually very pleased. I think they do emphasize the right things. But they also have some lectures, and I heard one,
Lectures, that's an unusual thing to hear that word, affiliated with a long-term care community. I'm being honest with you. You don't hear that they do lectures, which
well,
is great. I'm loving that.
one was, it was done by a woman named, what's her name?
Julie Strauss.
Julie H. Strauss, yeah. And it was on Hamilton versus Jefferson.
Oh, my goodness.
And I grew up thinking the two were very important historic figures, but the one that was always emphasized was Jefferson.
Mhm.
And this was not, this is the opposite, which led me to start reading about 4 or 5 different books. That to me is that's the kind of thing I want to hear.
Yeah.
People make me go do something and think about things. And say I went off on a binge of about 45 books in probably 2.5 months. I mean, I
About
was
100
reading 2 or
pages
3 a
in a
week.
day.
I'm not a fast reader either. So it's not, it's just, I had time to do it. Sometimes I slow down and I get a book now and I'm not crazy about John Adams, and I'm thinking, I don't really care about John Adams. But I'm gonna finish this damn book.
I have a friend who's actually reading all the presidents' autobiographies. You know, they don't always read them themselves. So they're all biographies. That's what he's doing. He started with the very first president, George Washington, and he's working his way through. But I thought, what a cool thing to do, to learn about the biography of
That's
every
exactly what I
president.
thought I'm gonna do. Another thing I started trying to figure out is papers I might write. I don't know for what purpose. One of them would probably be about immigration. I've done a paper before and actually presented it to a group of scholars at one time, whether it went over well or not, but it was interested in it.
Uh-huh.
And it focuses my thinking on something.
I love.
When you write something down, it
Yeah, when I
helps you
write things down,
articulate it better for yourself.
I understand what I think better when I write it
I
down.
agree.
Yeah,
And I spend a lot of time on that.
that's cool.
Yeah, and we've had some other lectures that are excellent, and some of the musical performers are really good. I mean, I felt very spoiled when I came here because I spent 20 years in Chicago, which I think is a cultural mecca.
Yes.
I spent 18 years in New York City, and same thing.
Mhm.
And it's not the same thing, but some of these people are really good.
Very good.
I don't know how they get them, but they get some really good people. There's supposed to be somebody actually today I didn't go see because of this.
I know, and I feel badly. Sorry.
No, again, sometimes you do things to be supportive of the staff too, and
Yeah.
I was interested anyway.
You were curious. What are they gonna be
I'm
talking
always
about in that
curious.
room?
That's, I think, one of the things that's carried me through life is, and it was even part of the choice of colleges I had. It was challenge what you think, challenging it over and over again. And that's what I really enjoy that.
So engagement is not just about keeping busy. It's about having a purpose to it. That's what I'm hearing. Even when it came to the exercises, in the beginning, you were like, yeah, I think I can do more of this. But then you started seeing the purpose in it. These work well for me. This is helping me. So I want to ask both of you as well. What is your perspective on this?
Well, I'm right there with Phil's philosophy in life. I discovered early on that Three Crowns is a community of readers,
Oh, I love.
not just people that like each other, which is very important. But you can go to any table during lunchtime, excuse me, I'm back in grade school. You can go to any table at any time and start talking about a book or a newspaper, something you read, something you want people to read. And everyone's in the conversation, no matter who the person is. It is a community of readers.
That's very interesting.
And I might say, because I'm very proud of this, art has been the crux of my life.
Very good.
And I started an art program here where not only do the artists hang their work on the walls of our little art gallery, which is not so little, by the way.
It's beautiful. You'll have to check it out on your way out.
It's got wonderful lighting, but I started a little procedure where before we plunged into the art part, we let the artist talk about him or herself. How did this happen? How were you directed into art? Tell us about your life. And so then I sit back and let the artist, no matter who it is, talk about art in his life or her life. And we started out with lots of women, which is, I'm thrilled with that. But now we get lots of men also who ask questions, who want to know about art and motivation. And it has become part of Three Crowns, the love of art, the wanting to know more about art. And personally, I couldn't be happier. So between the readers and the art lovers and every other artistic and field that's related to those major fields, you have a group of people that are very culturally interested and want to know about life. Life does not stop.
That's
when
right.
you come to Three Crowns. If anything, it increases, and we get support from the staff. Judy, when's the next art gallery? Who's the next artist? Or Bill, when's the next author coming? And who's going to be the next musician? It's bringing people together, drawing us in.
And I'm hearing, we're in Evanston, Illinois, by the way, everybody, so that you know that we're in Evanston. And Evanston itself is a very culturally diverse community that does thrive on the culture, thrives on these things that you're talking about, the art, the reading. This community as a whole. So this building has taken the culture of the community at large and brought it into their own community, because they know the people who live here mostly are from around the area. And they've adopted that community to make it better. And I'm thinking for people that are hearing this, that might be living in Southern Illinois, in a different type of community, maybe it's a farming community, for the community at small to adopt the community at large and take that culture on, because that will help people thrive and do better in their experience, and to make sure that day, the way people spend their day mirrors that sense of community.
Exactly.
Absolutely true.
Because it wouldn't mean any sense to you, for you guys, to do something around, well, it might though, because I see you guys are a bunch of learners, but I'm thinking about talking about the crops season and what's going to happen due to the weather. That would be something where you guys would be like, I don't understand that. But I'm thinking Bill might go take some books out and start reading on it.
It's interesting you mentioned, I grew up on a farm, and
See?
we didn't run the farm, but I got fascinated. I started raising chickens. I subscribed to all these farm magazines.
So you would be interested in that.
One of the problems I have sometimes, unfortunately, subscriptions are getting too expensive, because you used to be able to subscribe to a million things, and
Yeah, you
now
can.
you have to be a little more selective, a lot more selective.
Right.
It's expensive.
Yeah. Well, before we move from this subject, Betty, I would like your perspective on this with your day and what's important to you in your day, how you spend your day. What are those things that make you feel good about who you are, or those things that don't? We can go to the other side too.
Well, I would like to share that Three Crowns has about 60 clubs you can join.
Oh, my
There's the garden club,
goodness.
the book club, the play club. It goes on and on and on. So you don't have to ever be bored. But I start my day, because I'm very concerned about not losing any more mental power, with a series of puzzles I do that require strategy to win.
Mhm.
And when that's done, I usually go to exercise class, which our activities director, Andy, does an excellent job. And I love the great courses. I just finished a class on the witches of Salem. I did not know that there were men witches that were killed because I have only in school heard about the
I better
women
start going to
witches.
that.
Pardon?
I think I better start going to that too.
Yeah.
And I'm also doing the lost cultures of North America. So far, the most exciting thing is under Mexico City is a city that existed a gazillion years ago that has pyramids that are taller than the ones in Egypt. So when I'm reading something serious, it goes slow. If I'm reading a novel, 2 or 3 days will take care of it.
Mhm.
But I love learning and I just can't imagine not being able to.
I'm hearing this theme, that ongoing learning. We're never too old to learn. And that's, my mother, like I said, my mother is 91 and my mother has that philosophy. She's an avid reader, always reading, doing research on things, wanting to know more about this, more about that, wants to know everything that's going on in the world, good and bad. And she's living to 90, she's in amazing condition for, at 91 years old. She's amazing. And I'm looking at my life that I've had in long-term care. I've been involved in that for a very long time. And there's activities, but then there's, what I'm hearing from you guys is not here. We've got activities, but there's courses,
Yes.
there's lectures, there's art, there's an art gallery.
Yeah.
There's,
The art here is very good too.
yes,
Oh,
and part of
yes.
this is
Oh,
when we rise the occasion up, people rise to the
That's
occasion
right.
as well. And if we start just saying to people, well, we're just going to do more things that might feel like little kid stuff, you're gonna take 2 pieces of paper and glue them together and make it a bird, it might not feel as meaningful.
right.
But when you make that challenge happen, you rise to the occasion and it makes you feel good about who you are, as well as where you live and the experience you're having around you.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great message for other activity directors out there to hear the perspective of how could they change what it is that they're doing and not just fill a calendar up for the sake of filling a calendar up,
Make it
but to
meaningful.
find out what people want, who people are, and get that reflected in how the daily programming
They
happens.
do a lot to try to get feedback in this place too. And that's another thing I think they do very well.
Yeah. They make
Feedback.
an effort. They really, you can feel the energy. They make an effort to keep all the good stuff that we learned, that we had, that we saw and felt as we were growing older and accumulating knowledge. Keep it. Don't drop it. Use it in your life. Life will not stop when you
That's
come to Food
perfect.
Promise.
That is so
Wow.
true.
That's great. I'm looking in the comments right now that we have, and I'm getting a lot of great, like one person said, is it safe to say you all feel it's home there?
That's a good.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
My son asked
I
me.
think that's a big achievement. I don't think that's so easy.
Oh, that is not easy.
No.
I hate the word which people throw around in the long-term care world all the time, home-like. This isn't like your home. This is your home.
No, it's not.
So to say that your home, it's like a home, takes that whole meaning of home right out of that equation. And just says it's just a place to put your pillow on,
Yeah,
your head on a pillow.
yeah.
So I think we need to lose that and we need to all explore what home truly does mean and make it home, not make it home-like.
Yes.
That's really
My
important.
son asked me about 4 months ago, Mama, does this feel like home yet? And I said, almost. And then I can't even remember what happened, but I went up to the hospital and then upstairs for 3 months. And when I came back, I felt like I walked into my home.
Very good.
It was a good experience. I don't know exactly what pulled it together, but it came together in a good way.
Very nice.
No.
One of the things that helped me with that was getting my paintings hung.
Oh.
So you're an artist.
No, I grew up in a area where it was an art near Pratt Institute in New York. I don't know, do you know New York? Well, it's an art school and most of my friends were artists there. I've seen an incredible amount of art. I'm not knowledgeable about art and the most closest I come to creativity is photography and I like that.
Mhm.
And that I haven't done anything with here. That's,
Maybe there's a photography club coming down the pike.
well, I had to rescue my camera and I finally got my camera from my daughter because I was so unconscious and so incapable of doing anything for so long. She had to take over everything, but she was also afraid of having all my passwords exposed.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
she took everything away from me for a long time and she only lets loose of it reluctantly, but gradually it's happening.
Well, we're nearing the end of our hour together. Can you believe it? It's been an hour already.
I
Betty,
can't,
here's-
honest, it's been so interesting.
Me too.
It's interesting to hear these two talking for me.
Yeah.
I think there's one thing we should be mentioned that hasn't, and that's the fact that there's a chaplain on
A
staff.
chaplain on staff.
Pardon?
There's a chaplain on staff.
Yes, there is a
And he
24-hour-a-day chaplain.
And he does many things. He runs a grief group
Oh.
and I go to that group. He has a group, which I'm not sure what it's for. But the thing that I appreciate the most is he gives lectures on other religions.
Huh?
So he did a wonderful one on Muslims and Hindus. And I can't remember the others. They were a long time ago. But he was the surprise here. I had no clue they would have a chaplain. In fact, I thought they wouldn't.
He is terrific.
And this is a non-denominational community, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
So it's the fact that there's a chaplain, because many times you will see when there's a religious affiliation with the community. So that's another thing out there. What we're doing is hopefully people are listening to some of this messaging and they're thinking about how they can adopt it themselves to make their communities home.
Mhm.
I think that you guys have sent some really great messages. Before because we are at 3:59, I just want to summarize some of the things that I heard that I feel were important messaging for people to hear. One is relationship. And respect, and amongst everybody that's involved in the community. The other for individuals is that sense of purpose. To have that sense of purpose in your life where you feel that you can engage in things that you want to engage in, have conversations where you want to have conversations, sit with people at lunch that you want to sit at lunch and get to learn. It's all that sense of purpose, being able to do and be who you want to do and be. And the last one that I think is just the quote of the day is life does not stop.
Right.
And I think that is the quote of the day, because I think way too many times we think when somebody turns whatever that magic number is on the clock, that life stops and everything else is just about maintaining existence as opposed to enhancing a meaningful life.
Right.
And I have one other thing that I just want to share with everybody is it can feel from the conversation of how everybody was sharing this, that this could be an exclusive thing that could happen. I don't feel that just because they got lucky where they lived and lucky in the community, we realize that it's not luck. There was purpose behind how all that played out. And that this could happen in any long-term community in the state. If it is approached with that meaning and purpose, relationship, respect, and having the philosophy that life goes on. So I'm going to end this conversation right now. I know we do have some questions in the chat. But we will go ahead and Stephen, are there a lot of questions? We've got the guy, we've kind of like, what is he called in the Wizard of Oz? the man behind the eyes. We gotta have a Wizard of Oz that's part of this conversation with us. He monitors the chat and puts all this stuff in there for me while I get to have these great conversations. So Wizard of Oz, Stephen, are there any questions or comments that we should make sure that we have memorialized before I turn off the recording for today?
No, we only had just some questions about the ombudsman program and what sort of areas we cover. And just so it's clear for everybody, the ombudsman program, we cover skilled and intermediate care, we cover assisted living, supportive living, we cover the intermediate care facilities for the developmentally disabled. We cover, I might get this acronym wrong, but medically complex for the developmentally disabled if the person is over 18. And then we also go to specialized mental health rehabilitation facilities. I think where this came from, though, is questions about independent care or independent living. In those homes, there's no licensure, there's no jurisdiction for the ombudsman program. And so I think that's something for people to understand, that if you are in an independent area, even if it has a even if you're attached to an assisted or a nursing home, the ombudsman program does not cover that independent area.
So this is a continuing care retirement community, what people refer to as a CCRC, continuing care retirement community. And they have the independent living, which many people do initially come in the independent living side. And then as they have more care needs, they'll move to the assisted living and potentially someday even to the skilled living. And there's also a memory care area here as well. So we do not work as ombudsman. We cannot work on the independent side. We started assisted living and we work with the rest of those. So thank you for that clarification, Stephen. I think that is important because there were some people questioning about that. So with that, I'll go ahead and I'm going to end the recording. And then if anybody does have any other questions or comments and you would like to unmute yourself, do feel free to do that. Let me stop the recording. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, you guys. You guys were amazing to share. Thank you so much.